A parenting plan can vary to match how a family best operates. It can look like it looked before the divorce if it was working. If it wasn't working, you want to look to design it so that your lives and your kids' lives can really thrive. So you can have them be very, very detailed if that will work for you. You can have exact times of pickups, exact times of drop-offs, exact dates, exact holidays alternated, which holidays you want, if you want to split the holidays. I mean, you can get into very, very detailed agreements. I've seen many of those. You can also say holidays to be shared as agreed to by the parties. This is one of those areas where it's like, know thyself, okay? If you can't agree with your soon-to-be former spouse on whether, the sky is blue, I suggest a more detailed parenting plan so that you don't have to interact and disagree about every interaction. If, however, when it comes to the kids, you have a decent amount of what I call flow, you can decide some things as you go organically as life is happening to allow for kids' social events, different, you may have work commitments, different things that each of you wants to do. So this really is up to you. But again, try to be realistic. It's unlikely that you will behave very differently post-divorce than you did during the marriage in terms of how you interact with each other. So, give yourself as much structure, like guardrails, if you have trouble agreeing to things, so that you can always go back to the agreement rather than rely on having to agree with one another. And again, this can be alternating weekends, alternating holidays. Typically with the kids' birthdays, if you have children, there's going to be some portion of that birthday that each of you will have, whether it's together with your child or separately. People also typically give the mom or mom's Mother's Day and vice versa for Father's Day, for the parents' birthdays. Typically, once you've gotten to the point where you're going to settle, you can at least agree the kids can see the other parent on their birthday and you'll have them on yours, those kinds of things. Regarding holidays and special occasions, if you currently are in a place where you can be together with your children and celebrate them, celebrate life, celebrate holidays, by all means, continue to do that. If it's something you strive for, you want to take steps to be, if you're not quite there yet, take steps to talk to and communicate with your soon-to-be ex-spouse about if they have that similar goal. And if they do, you can work towards that. And you know what? If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. There's nothing wrong with you or the family. The kids are going to be fine. You can have your separate celebrations and holidays and just plan for them and arrange for that. So do what works for you. Don't live in a world of how it should be. Create what works for you and for your kids if you have kids. If you have disagreements about scheduling, if you typically have disagreements about scheduling, I recommend a somewhat detailed parenting plan. If you have disagreements about it, you don't want to run into court for every disagreement you have. So you want to start to look, is this going to make a real difference for you if you compromise? If it's not going to make a real difference for you and it just makes you a little nutty to give that other person what they want, you may want to consider compromising. If you feel like you're being a doormat and the other person is never keeping the agreement and never carrying their own weight, then you may say, no, we're going to live by the black and white word of the agreement and stick to it. And then you have to be ready if it's bad enough, if there are enough disagreements that you can go into court to enforce that. Again, I would not run in. I would try to work it out yourselves if possible. In some cases, there is something called a parenting coordinator that is available, which, you can retain a person like that to have them sort of on call. So if you get to something that is critical, that you believe is critical as a decision for the kids that you just can't reach agreement on, that person can come in and help you try to reach an agreement. If you are going to be developing a somewhat detailed parenting plan, a few things you want to consider just to make sure of. You want to have a mixture of time with your children if you are designing it this way. So think about it like this. You don't want to only have them on school days and have your former spouse have every single weekend. You won't get to enjoy that non-school time with them. On the other hand, you want to make sure you at least have a weekend or two to yourself, because believe it or not, you will get on the other side of this fight and you are going to want to have a social life. So it's nice to have a weekend to yourself. It's nothing about you as a parent if you want some of that time for yourself. You now have another household with a parent where they can be for at least minimum a weekend a month. I think every other weekend is typically what we see in terms of parents splitting weekend time. The point is to try to make it as balanced as possible. So you have some nights where you have to do homework and showers and baths and wake up the next morning and do all that school stuff and extracurriculars, and then other where you can just have some relaxation and free time with your kids and some relaxation and free time by yourself or with, socially. Any questions you have about how to create a parenting plan that will work for you, that really reflects the lifestyle, the values that you want to have moving forward for yourself and your family, contact us at Hannon De Palma. We will work with you to design something that will really have you thrive moving forward.